Digital Media presents The Butterfly Dragon, Heroes of Our Own Reimagined by Brian Joseph Johns. Episode 1, Alicia Westin. Office meeting, 6 years ago, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. She sat uncomfortably in a chair in the office. A pair of pretty hands with long manicured and painted nails gripped her shoulders, keeping her securely in place. The rising sun now shone through the window behind them, overhead of both her and her captor, casting their shadows through the settling dust into the room. She glanced to the desk before them where her red mask lay, fragile, helpless, useless to her in her current circumstances. From there, her eyes wandered over to the left, to the semicircular portion of the large oak desk which had been notched out, as if someone had driven a sledgehammer through it precisely at the edge where its owner might have rested his wrists as he used the mouse for his computer. Miraculously, the low-profile LCD panel monitor and computer to which it was connected had somehow managed to remain undamaged. Beyond the desk, and on an adjacent wall, a credenza lay at an angle, upon its end, leaning precariously against the opposite wall from where it had once rested, a large crack creeping along its length as if someone had once wielded it as a crude club. Now it lay broken and discarded, like the baseball bat that had hit the game-winning grand slam. Not far from there, a large corner of the office that had once been its front hall bore the impact of a body, still retaining the catcher's glove shape of an arched back. The studs behind the corner folded around this imaginary point, while the floor around them was littered with chunks of drywall and ceiling debris. Not much farther down from that point, the bathroom door to the ensuite lavatory was completely missing, for it was around the corner and forced into the shower, where the damaged walls were bent outwards, water still running from the broken faucet, and the floor scattered with towels and toiletries. Just outside of the bathroom and further down towards the far end of the office from where she was, forcibly made to remain seated, the large oak door itself was cracked diagonally from corner to corner, just barely remaining in the door frame by its own balance, weight, and the few wood fibers that held it together. The morning light illuminated the cloud of still settling dust and debris, as if what had caused the catastrophe that had befallen the office had only just ceased moments earlier. "If your hands are getting tired, you can relax your grip. It's not like I'm going anywhere," the lady in the seat addressed her captor. "You've got that right, but I'm not releasing you. I know that you're a clever girl and a tricky one too, Alicia," her captor asserted, leaving room for negotiation, very much like the business professional she was, and one who'd closed numerous business deals throughout the course of her early career. "Girl Guide's honor?" Alicia held up her hand. "You were a Girl Guide? I could see that," remarked her captor. "It didn't last, but I've still got the booklet." "Valerie, right?" Alicia responded. "One and the same," Valerie responded curtly to Alicia. "So, how is it that an intelligent, business-minded woman like you ends up with a guy like Tormin?" asked Alicia of Valerie. At that point, at the front of the office, the doorknob slowly turned. The slight motion involved caused the entire door and part of the door frame to collapse onto the floor, revealing a handsome, dark-haired man of 5'10" in a fashionably classic suit with a briefcase in his hand. Miraculously, neither the door nor the door frame hit him as they fell. "Why don't you ask him yourself?" Valerie responded to Alicia's question. "Good morning, ladies. You two look remarkably well considering what obviously unfolded in here earlier." Tormin stood in the doorway, assessing the damage. "It's not as bad as it looks," Alicia replied. "It's worse," Valerie added an edge of sarcasm. "Tell me, how is it that two adult women can in this day and age resort to violence in situations like this?" asked Tormin of them. "Well, technically speaking, neither of us hit one another," Valerie replied. "True, it was more either of us hitting the furniture or the walls or the bathroom. Even so, the formula healed us before you got here," Alicia added.
"It's still violence, and something I assumed was far beneath you, Alicia. Though funny you should mention the formula, because that's going to be the topic of our cozy little meeting here today." Tormund stepped over the debris and destroyed doorframe and walked over to a countertop on the adjacent wall from the bathroom to where a coffee maker set to auto-brew had just finished brewing a fresh pot of coffee. "Can I get you ladies a cup of coffee?" he asked them, looking over to them for the first time since he had arrived. Alicia was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed beauty in her mid-20s, with the physique of an Olympic athlete. Her pink lips underlined her sculpted facial features and accented her cute yet sharp nose. Her toned body was quite visible even beneath her tight-fitting black pants and red shirt, across the breast of which was inscribed the letters NS in a somewhat crude and simplistic manner. Over the shirt, she wore an expensive-looking black trench coat, which fell down to her knees. It appeared to be quite weathered. The woman standing in the chair behind Alicia and holding her in place was equally one to behold. Her long, straight auburn hair framed a pale, compact face, complete with her soft brown eyes and perfect complexion, a mole just east of her nose, accenting her deep red lips. She wore a stylish business suit, the top 3 buttons on her blouse open, and much like Alicia's trench coat, her suit was spotted with patches of dust and wear and tear, given the events that had previously unfolded. "Why don't you let Valerie get that? Isn't that how you usually do things, Tormund?" asked Alicia of him, quickly doing away with his polite Gentile routine. "You are a funny one, Alicia, and clever from what I've heard. Now, you know as well as I do why Valerie can't release you, but that doesn't mean that the 3 of us can't enjoy a cup of coffee together now, does it?" He put his briefcase down and pulled 3 cups from the cupboards just above the undamaged counter, the only untouched place in the entire office. "So what does the NS stand for on your shirt? Nitwit secretary?" asked Tormund of Alicia. "Nice smile. Mine, so I've been told. 1 sugar, 1 cream, please. Secretary Tormund," she requested, both bluffing about the initials on her shirt and throwing Tormund's insult right back at him.
"Very sharp wit. Your coffees are on their way," Tormund responded as he stirred their coffees, then carrying them one in each hand over to his desk where they were currently situated. "Not my desk, too?" Tormund got a glimpse of the gaping hole in his desk nearest Alicia. "It wasn't me," Valerie quickly responded. "Yeah, but you zigged when I thought you were going to zag," Alicia responded to Valerie's having outed her as the culprit. "What about the bathroom and shower? That was all your fault," Valerie reminded her. Alicia looked back towards Valerie, a scathing smirk on her face as she spoke. "What was I supposed to do? You came at me with the bathroom door, and that was just after you checked out your batting average on me with the credenza." "The shower, too?" Tormund paused after having placed their coffees on the only unoccupied space on his desk, given the lack of real estate thereupon. "What about insurance? Wouldn't that cover this?" asked Alicia of them optimistically. "There's no insurance coverage for something like this," Valerie replied to Alicia. "Tormund's a crook. I'm sure he'll figure out a way. I mean, he already figured out how to buy his way onto Tynan and Associates' board of directors, didn't he?" asked Alicia of the 2 of them. "I earned my way onto the board fair and square," Tormund lied to them both as he finished making his coffee and returned to his desk. "Okay, how are we going to do this?" asked Valerie of Tormund. "Get a firm hold of her and pick her up from the chair. Walk around the desk to the other side, keeping her away from me. Put her in the guest chair, and I'll get over to my chair and we can get this meeting underway," Tormund advised Valerie on their relocation issue. Valerie's hands slid down to the end of Alicia's shoulders and then down her arms, pinning them both to her sides. Valerie then easily lifted Alicia up from the chair, keeping her legs facing away from her while walking around the desk, carefully avoiding Tormund and ensuring that Alicia's legs were out of kicking distance from him as well. Tormund then awkwardly made his way around to his desk and sat in his chair, placing his coffee on the desk and his briefcase beside him, as Valerie sat Alicia in the guest chair across from him. "Now, how many other people have you told about this formula of yours?" asked Tormund of Alicia. "None. I'm still trying to figure out how you found out about it," Alicia responded, looking up to Valerie pleadingly.
Hence why she was poking around here in the wee hours and exactly how I caught her. Valerie directed her attention at Tormund, hoping that he'd acknowledge her having thwarted Alicia's corporate espionage. Valerie loosened her grip, and Alicia immediately took advantage, kicking the desk and launching their coffees into the air, one hitting Valerie square in the face and scalding her, the other just narrowly missing Tormund. Alicia then launched herself into the air and through the window behind Tormund, Valerie having lost her grip. She quickly scaled the side of the building, using window ledges and flagpoles, and had almost escaped when she was suddenly back in the chair, Valerie with her grip firmly on her arms, Tormund facing her, his eyes deadly serious. It was as if her escape attempt was only a dream, though she swore that she'd truly just escaped. That almost worked, but as you can clearly see, I have countermeasures against that sort of thing. Don't try that again, Tormund said to her, with a fierce look in his eyes. How'd that happen? I clearly got away, Alicia asked him, when she suddenly realized the truth. Hercules, behind me here, obviously already used the formula. It appears that you used it too. You can somehow rewind time, like an instant replay. Alicia now knew that they'd had the formula for longer than she'd assumed. Who else did you tell about the formula, Alicia? Tormund leaned back in the chair and put his legs up on the desk, taking a sip of his coffee. How'd you find out about it in the first place? Asked Alicia of Tormund. I'm the one asking the questions here. Tormund became angry momentarily, and Alicia could have sworn that she felt the entire building rumbling. Look, I just want to bring this miracle to the world, and you want to use it for your own personal gain. Ironic that you accused me of being a crook, when you're the one who has been gallivanting around the city, stealing from and sabotaging local businesses. Tormund asserted himself, then looking to Valerie, who seemed to throw him a skeptical glance.
Valerie, you have no idea what she's been doing since she created this formula. She tested it on herself against Tynan policy. She's trying to fund her own research firm so she can steal the formula. When we can bring this to the world and make a change for the better, cure cancer, muscular dystrophy, spinal bifida, and many other diseases. Tormund said exactly what he knew that Valerie wanted to hear. He's lying. He's taking the words right from Walter Norler's mouth. I've been trying to bring down your corrupt network of thugs who've been facilitating your illegal hostile takeovers of struggling businesses for the last 3 years. Alicia broke, never realizing that she was being played by Tormund the entire time, who just tricked her into revealing her playbook. She's been stealing from these companies to fund her own private firm, where she has plans to get rich while ripping Tynan and Associates off of their formula. Tormund leaned forward in his desk, opening his briefcase and throwing a printed list of companies and various criminal statistics in Valerie's direction. Valerie examined the list with one hand, keeping a hold of Alicia by the back of her neck with the other. What Tormund didn't tell her was that these companies were his holdings. He'd acquired them all at extremely undervalued pricing, well below market and projected value. According to the figures Valerie was seeing, it was as if the value of these companies suddenly dipped from a much higher projected net worth. These companies' values crashed just before you bought them. That's a little circumspect, Tormund. Valerie read between the lines. They crashed because of her sabotage. I rescued them when they were on the brink of folding. I revived them, saving them from the damage this woman caused to their value. She's trying to pass the blame off onto me, like I'm the ringleader of a network of criminal thugs, Tormund explained to Valerie, who looked to him again, asking herself how she could question the man with whom she'd been romantically involved since her teen years. That's exactly what you are, Alicia responded aggressively. Valerie looked at Tormund and then to Alicia, now disgusted that she'd been so easily tricked by someone that she barely knew. You had me fooled, girl guide. Tormund turned her skepticism towards Alicia. Don't you see? He's playing you. He's been playing Tynan and Associates since he joined their investment strategist team and the board. Alicia pleaded with Valerie, neither woman truly knowing the other.
I rescued Tynan and Associates from the bear pit, and I'm going to see that the formula is going to reach the medical industry as the cure we project it's going to be. Tormund addressed both women, though only one of them was fooled. What are we going to do with her? Valerie asked Tormund.
The only thing that we can do. I've made arrangements to rescind her into the custody of the SIA, the Special Investigative Agency, and they'll bring her to justice with the material evidence I've accrued against her, Tormund explained to Valerie. And where do I fit in? Asked Valerie. I'll need you to make sure she ends up in their hands safely, Tormund assured her. At that moment, a phone inside of the right pocket of his suit jacket began ringing. He reached into the pocket with his left hand and put the phone to his face and answered. Speaking, Tormund responded. You have her? Asked a man with a deep and willful voice. Yes, she's secured, ready for delivery, Tormund assured the man on the other end of the phone. Good, then bring her to Warehouse 3A at Port Pier near the waterfront. What about the formula? Asked the man with the deep voice. I don't have it yet. I'm going to bring that to you directly when I do, Tormund advised him. Do you really think it wise to be taking such a risk when we're this close? Asked the man with the deep voice. I've got all of the bases covered, Tormund assured him. She can't come with you. She's a liability, the man with the deep voice told him. I know. Tormund held his hand over the phone and blew Valerie a kiss. Everything's been arranged. We'll be taking Alicia to the Port Pier in the downtown just off of the Queen's Quay, to a warehouse, where we'll hand her off to the SIA. Tormund smiled at Valerie. And then we'll talk about those future plans we were discussing. Our engagement party, our wedding, Valerie reminded him. Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't have you any other way. Tormund smiled and returned to his phone conversation, holding up his index finger to Valerie, urging her to be patient. Be there in 1 hour, and don't bring anyone else. We'll take care of them both at the same time. The man with the deep voice hung up and Tormund pocketed the phone. Alicia, you're about to learn what real justice is. Let's get going, Val. Be careful with her. Tormund smiled at Alicia menacingly. What about my coffee? Asked Alicia. Bring it, Tormund responded. What about the office? Asked Valerie as she carefully hefted Alicia from her chair. I've got a crew coming in today to get started on repairs. Should be finished in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, we can do most of our business from home, Tormund lied, smiling as he packed his briefcase. Does that mean we'll have some personal time together? Asked Valerie as Alicia reached for her cup of coffee. Absolutely. We'll have plenty of time for each other, Tormund lied again as he led the way through the rubble and wreckage and out to the elevators. Alicia contemplated her situation and how she'd arrived at that moment, which, knowing Tormund, might be her last. She asked herself how life's path could lead to this, when all that she'd wanted to do was to use her smarts to do her part for the world. She started strolling through her memories in search of answers. Clinical psychology. 20 years ago. Suburbia. Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Mrs. Westin, Dr. Gordman is ready to see you and your daughter now, the receptionist announced to Teresa Westin, who gave the receptionist an unsettled smile in response. Alicia, give me your hand. Teresa reached for her daughter's hand as Alicia discarded the PhD trade magazine through which she'd been reading, placing it carefully on the reception coffee table. Did you know that mitochondria are the fuel source for most cells in the body? Asked a 12-year-old Alicia of her mother. I know that now. Thank you for sharing that with me, Teresa said as they followed the receptionist to Dr. Gordman's office. And that cells reproduce by something called cellular mitosis. They literally split in two, meaning their quantity of their population can be generationally represented by a series of bits in a computer in powers of 2. Alicia continued explaining to her mother. Is that so? Then there must be a lot of them. Teresa smiled as she asked her daughter. 30 to 40 trillion of them, according to latest estimates. That's a lot, isn't it, Mom? Alicia replied, jumping happily as she responded. It is. I guess we won't be running out of them anytime soon then, will we? Asked Teresa, knowing from experience how to engage her enthusiastic daughter. No. Can I count to 40 trillion? Asked Alicia of her mother as they stepped through the door into the doctor's office. You could, but it would take you close to 400,000 lifetimes to do so, Alicia, if you counted one every second. Dr. Gordman introduced himself to the two of them. Good to see you, Doctor. How have you been? Asked Teresa of the older, balding man in his middle 50s. I've been keeping well, and I hope that it's the same for the two of you. Why don't you take a seat and make yourselves comfortable and we can discuss the test results? Dr. Gordman smiled at the two of them. Teresa and Alicia each took a seat in front of Dr. Gordman's desk as he returned to the chair behind his desk and sat in it, leaning forward to examine Alicia's file. "Is there a problem with her results?" asked Teresa of Dr. Gordman. "That depends. In terms of her learning ability, she's off of the charts. She's one smart cookie, let me tell you. However, being smart can sometimes lead to social difficulties, such as making new friends or having struggles relating with other people. But Alicia's just too darn sweet for that to happen, right?" Dr. Gordman smiled at Alicia. "Right," Alicia responded, giggling a bit at his remark. "Well, that would explain her social difficulties," Teresa responded, looking to Dr. Gordman and then to Alicia. Dr. Gordman looked to Teresa and then Alicia before continuing. "Sometimes having too many friends can be a difficult thing. You've got to make time for every one of them, you know, so sometimes it's better to keep a few friends with whom you're very close, and I'd bet that Alicia will shine in that area if she isn't already. Or you could do something really good and nice for a lot of people at once, and then you'd have a lot of friends," Alicia quickly caught on. "Or you could do that, but why don't you start with one friend first, and then from there, you'll inevitably meet more people. Though remember that it's just as much up to them to be a friend as it is to you. So don't ever sell yourself short, Alicia," Dr. Gordman suggested to his little protege.
Never try to buy friends, Alicia. They should like you for being you and not for what you can give them, Teresa added, looking to her daughter. "Is that all that's on your mind?" asked Dr. Gordman of Teresa. "Well, keeping up with her can be a little troubling, but I'm doing my best," Teresa assured Dr. Gordman. She really should have little trouble at school, but her biggest hurdles are going to be having a healthy social life. It's rare having a gift like hers, and those who do often struggle with the social part of life, especially in this day and age. Finding some way to balance her lifestyle and activities will definitely help. Dr. Gordman leaned back in his chair. "Any suggestions about where we might begin?" asked Teresa. "Why not do some things together as a family that are just about fun, like going to the park and playing badminton or frisbee together? Try something that's for all of you, that doesn't involve so much thinking as much as it does doing. Encourage her to take part in the school activities with other children, and not just hang out by herself. I'm sure that Alicia would have a lot of fun, and so will you and Jack, especially if you take some time for weekend outings together. Speaking of, say hi to Jack for me," suggested Dr. Gordman as he leaned forward and rested his elbows on his desk. "I will. Thank you very much, Dr. Gordman." Teresa stood and took Alicia's hand. "Schedule another appointment in 6 months and let me know how things have been. And if you need anything before then, just give me a call. And you, Alicia, you just keep on being the bright sweetheart that you are." Dr. Gordman got up and followed them to the door to let them out. After they'd scheduled a follow-up appointment with the receptionist, they made their way back to Teresa's car. Alicia stopped to admire a butterfly that had followed them from the garden outside of the office building to the car. "Can you help me find a friend?" Alicia asked the butterfly as it quietly perched on her finger. The butterfly turned on her finger to face her, as if it was looking at her, and then it flew off into the air and back towards the garden. Their first and only, 19 years ago, a suburban school park, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Alicia lay on the grass on her back. Her best friend Leland lay beside her doing much the same. It was a sunny day during the summer break, and the two of them did what they usually did on Saturday afternoons together, talking in the park.
Alicia had accumulated a bit more baby fat, as her mother had called it, and despite it marking her as a target for the torment of other school kids, she really didn't notice. She'd met Leland in the playground a year earlier, just after her visit to Dr. Gordman's, and they'd become best friends ever since. Leland, though not quite as quick as Alicia, was no slouch either. His grades were amongst the top of his class, though he often found himself having to work for it much more than his best friend, to whom it all seemed to come naturally. Leland, much like Alicia, was a bit of a science geek, and like her, he often read science magazines and kept up with the sciences online. The two of them, however, liked to spend time out of doors together. They had both been shy when they were younger, and homebodies at that, lacking the confidence and motivation to get outside and enjoy the world around them. Since having become friends, their lives changed immensely, for they found that they both felt fearless when they were together. The world seemed to lose its intimidating edge, and what other people said about them didn't matter as much as it had when they were alone. Their friendship wasn't so much a romance as it was a friendship in its purest sense, though the thought had occurred to them, each at different times, though neither of them pursued any such avenue. Perhaps they loved what they had so much that they dare not risk it by complicating it. They'd seen many other things, seemingly stable in their lives, quickly fall apart by trying to improve them in some way, so they remained very close friends, and in fact, were the only friend the other ever had. "Want to play a game?" asked Leland of Alicia as they watched the clouds change shape in the sky. "Sure. What game?" asked Alicia, the warm breeze blowing over them. "I don't know. I just made it up. It's called The Future. You tell me something about what you want to do in the future, and then we'll both look at the clouds to see if it gives us any clues about it." Leland explained his simple little game to her. "All right. I want to do something where I help people," Alicia spoke, keeping her first time playing this game to a very simple dream of hers. They both stared at the clouds above them, and then Leland spotted what he thought looked like a nurse's hat, which he quickly pointed out to Alicia. "See? Right there!" Leland pointed up at the cloud formation.
That's so cool. A nurse? I never thought about that. They help lots of people. Maybe something like a doctor. Alicia elaborated on her hopes of her future. "Look at that one!" Leland pointed to a cloud formation that looked like a magnifying glass. "That's like a banjo," Alicia replied. "It's a magnifying glass, silly," Leland corrected her. "We're both right," Alicia corrected Leland. "Well, a magnifying glass is a lot closer to being a doctor than a banjo." Leland came at it from a different perspective. "True, but you can't play Living Room by Tegan and Sarah on a magnifying glass." Alicia giggled and rolled over to face Leland. "You got me there," Leland replied with a smile. "What about you? Your future?" Alicia asked him, rolling over onto her front as she watched him closely. "It's difficult." Leland's voice trailed off. "No, it isn't. I mean, you have something you're dreaming of becoming when you're all grown up, haven't you?" Alicia could have made some suggestions for him, but she wanted to hear it from him. "I want to become a bird." Leland stared at the sky as he watched a lone sparrow gliding through the wind. "No, seriously," Alicia urged him. "To fly free and away from our troubles here, all the way up to the sky." He spoke solemnly and as if he'd found peace. "That's not a future, Leland," Alicia giggled, kicking his shoe with her foot. "It is for me. It's the perfect future." A tear found the corner of Leland's eye and dripped down the side of his face and into his ear. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were so sensitive about the future. That was fun, but let's do something else that we can both play," Alicia suggested. "Alicia," Leland spoke, as if he didn't hear her. "Leland?" Alicia responded, still giggling. "Would it be too much if I asked you for something?" asked Leland, still distant and his eyes toward the sky. "Like what?" Alicia asked him. "Something personal." "And that is?" Alicia continued, grilling him for the answer. "A kiss," Leland replied, his eyes focused above. "I thought we weren't going to be like boyfriend and girlfriend." Alicia became very nervous and uncomfortable. "We aren't. We're best friends, though. If I could have a kiss from anyone in my future, it would be you," Leland said to her, his eyes still focused on something distant. "Then let's see where the future takes us," Alicia suggested, anticipation rather than impatience.
We're living in the future, Alicia, because it simply doesn't exist. It's our imagination, and the future never comes unless we live it now, Leland reasoned with her. I don't understand. Alicia looked to him, now confused. Please?
Leland turned his head to look at her. She became very nervous and shaky, as if suddenly smitten with stage fright and an intense fascination with the idea all at the same time. She positioned her lips just above his. "Close your eyes," she said to him. "You first." Leland closed his eyes, an angel's face just above his. "Are your eyes closed?" she asked him. "Yes," Leland lied, not wanting to miss a moment of her closeness to him. She slowly lowered her lips to his, and when they touched, it felt like heaven. They remained lip-locked for seconds before Alicia became overwhelmed and withdrew herself from him. "Did I do something wrong?" asked Leland of her, his face pink and as flushed as hers. "No, it's just too much for me at once," Alicia replied, her eyes still closed. "But at the same time, it was perfect," she continued, keeping her eyes closed for a few seconds more before she opened them, taking in Leland's flushed face. She lay her head on his chest and listened to the beating of his heart as the breeze gently caressed the two of them. They knew not how long they lay in the field in the park, but it was the last time they ever did.
3 months had passed since their outing into the field at the school park, and much had changed since that time. Alicia wore her best dress as she sat in the corner chair drinking juice from a straw in her glass, her eyes red from her tears, which by that point had run dry. Across from her on the sofa were Leland's mother and father, one of them weeping and the other doing a much better job of hiding it. Alicia's mother sat on the sofa beside Leland's mother, doing her best to comfort them. Various relatives and friends of the family populated the house as they celebrated what little time in life their lost Leland had. A little girl, no more than 5 years old, one of Leland's cousins, ran up to Alicia in her chair and spoke. "What's leukemia, Alicia?" asked the little girl, knowing that if anyone had the answer, it would be Alicia. It's what took Leland away from us," Alicia responded softly, fighting tears once again. "Why?" asked Leland's cousin. Alicia realized how little she truly knew, for she had no answer to give. "I don't know," Alicia responded, for the first time in her life. To be continued in The Butterfly Dragon, Heroes of Our Own Reimagined, Episode 2, Ayon Lin Ying.